Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Friends with Books. I am one of your FWBs, Read Reviews by Jess, or just Jess.
And I am your other FWB, Booked with Emily, or just M. And we are so excited to finally be here and be recording because we've done that intro 10 times. We've had to sign in, log out, test the mics, test the headphones about 50 times. So I just need you guys to appreciate our dedication to you because this was a fucking nightmare.
Literally, thank God we figured this out. Well, it wasn't even an us problem. Emily's internet just decided to take a big fat dump. And so we were like, why isn't this working? She kept freezing. I swear to God, you guys, I did that intro 9 times that you just heard.
She did.
And I had one really good variation that I loved, but that just took a crap. So this is what we left with. But regardless of our intro, this episode is going to be amazing because we are covering something that is very, very highly requested and an FAQ, if you will, for Emily and I both. And that is
how to get started on Booksta. All the tips and tricks we have to offer you guys. And you know, I don't really know who gave us the authority or the right to be here to talk about this, but no one's here to stop us either. So we're just gonna give you all the insight we have and hopefully you guys take it and run with it. And if it doesn't work, don't come at us.
Yeah, honestly. And this isn't even just like how to get started, just like our tips on how to do Bookstagram, how to be successful, maybe, if you will, on Bookstagram, because we get that question all the time from Bookstagrammers, like, how did you grow your platform? How are you consistent with content? Like X, Y, and Z. So now we're here to talk about it all.
We are.
But before we do that, we're going to do a little fun. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
Quiz.
Question.
Oh, yeah. This is not a quiz. It's just questions that my lazy-eyed friend.
Oh, what a bitch. But factual. No, so this is actually, and we will talk about this later, but this is a Bookstagram quiz or a Bookstagram challenge that someone on Bookstagram made up, and I participated in it. And the picture she's referencing that goes along with this challenge, my right eye is definitely leaning a little far to the left. It's definitely not focused on the camera.
Okay, to be fair, like, I'm not a huge bitch. She literally says she has a lazy eye in the picture,
I do.
So it's capitalizing on the joke. So
no, I do though. I like to make fun of myself so other people can't make fun of me and hurt my feelings.
I don't think you have a lazy eye. I just think your head is tilted.
In just the one eye as well.
Emily actually does have a lazy eye in real life, though.
No, I do. And I don't have my glasses on. My right eye strays a little bit. But you know
can't
what?
really notice it, though.
Let's just get to the freaking questions, okay? I've hurt my own damn feelings at this point.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. Question number 1. What's a genre you stay away from?
I tend to steer clear of sci-fi. Not a big sci-fi girl. I don't really like memoirs or nonfictions. I really like the fiction, the fake stuff. And also historical fiction. I think it's incredibly boring. I don't really care about history that much. So basically those 3 genres, but never say never, you know?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much exactly the same. If you know me or if you heard me say this before, I don't read nonfiction because real life is hard. Try as I might. I'm like, I'm going to read a self-help book. Bitch, no the fuck you're not going to read a self-help book. As much as you need to, no. So that's a no for me. That includes memoirs, but also historical fiction. I tend to stay away from as well, just because I feel like it covers like depressing eras. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the same boat as like real life is hard. So I'd stay away from those two, but I don't mind sci-fi. I don't know if I've actually ever read sci-fi, but I feel like I wouldn't mind it.
Maybe you'll be a sci-fi girl this year.
Who knows?
I don't know. Okay, next
right.
question. What is your worst habit as a reader? Ooh.
I don't think this is a bad habit, but I think most people would be upset with me. But like, I don't take the best care of my books in terms of like, I dog ear them. I will crack a spine, not intentionally, but I just don't try not to. And also, like, I kind of just like throw my books. Like, I'll throw it off the bed, or like you know what I mean? Sometimes a dog steps on it. It happens, and they're fine usually.
Yeah, I would say that is a bad habit, but I'm not able to judge you because I intentionally crack a spine. I love the feeling of like getting a fresh book and like opening it to that middle section and just like cracking it. Oh, it holds so much better in your hands. I too dog ear pages, which is a big Booksta no-no. However, I don't like when the covers of my books get bent or when there's watermarks or when there's rips or tears. So I don't care what the inside looks like necessarily, but I do like them to look pretty on my shelf. So very similar to you, I guess. I feel like this is going to be the situation the whole way down these questions, basically.
Except for this next one, because we are quite opposite. Do you read the synopsis?
Yes. 99.9% of the time, I know exactly what the plot's going to be about before going into the book. And 50% of the time, I know how the book's going to end before I even finish the book. But to me, I just have a more enjoyable reading experience that way. I don't stress. I don't get anxiety. I don't worry about what's going to happen. I know how it's going to end. And then I enjoy all the what ifs leading up to that. So I do read the synopsis.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I think I am probably the queen of judging a book by its cover or by its author. And I don't know. I could not tell you the last time I've read a synopsis of a book. Literally, when Emily is reading a book, when Emily is reading a book, and telling me about it, I'm literally like, please stop. Like, I don't want to know this.
That's not what she says.
Even if I ask her.
That's not what she says at all, actually.
I say, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear this.
She'll say, oh, what's it about? And then I'll say, oh, what's about? Emily, shut the fuck up. Why are you telling me this? And I'm like, oh, okay.
No, I did not say that.
I think we have it on recording that you actually do say that to me.
I didn't say it as mean.
Okay, moving on. Do you read used books?
No, I don't read used books. I don't, I've gotten books from a little free library before. I've never read them.
Just collect them.
I just got it for the experience.
So you're just taking these free books away from people who really need them just to experience it.
I put some in there. I put better ones in there, arguably so.
Okay, whatever
so
you say.
I really did the community a favor. What about you?
No, I do not read used books as well. That's not to say that I won't borrow one from my sister or from Jess, or that's about it. This makes me, I truly do not mean to come off snobby here, but I genuinely get creeped out. I know how I read a book. My hands get sweaty. I'm eating, then I lick my fingers, or like maybe I'll pick my nose and put my fingers back on the book. Like, it just grosses me out to like touch someone else's, like a stranger's booger hands, So.
Yeah, remind me to never borrow a book from you. I cannot relate to doing any of those things.
Okay, wait. I'm so embarrassed. I actually just sold so many books on Bookstagram. So
I'll cut this part out.
I'm just totally kidding, guys. If you were listening to this, I don't wipe boogers on my pages, but you know what I mean? Like, your hands do get sweaty. Like, I'm a freak about having things on my hands.
Weird thing to say if it's not something you actually do.
That's true. Okay, guys.
So, moral of the story, if you bought books from Emily, make sure you wipe them with a sanitizer.
Here's the second moral of the story is I wash my hands probably more than anyone. I get really grossed out with things on my hands. I don't like lotion on my hands. I don't I wash my hands so much. And so, I don't know, it just grosses me out.
Okay, favorite book from last year, which is Nice, because we just did our favorite reads of the year, and it is very early in 2023. So we remember them, was my point.
Oh, yeah. My very favorite book from 2022, my top 3 were really close, but my very favorite is Zodiac Academy. And it is a bully romance, dark academia series, and I can't recommend it enough. Yeah, fantasy. I recommend it to everyone, so definitely read that. But that's my favorite series from last year.
My favorite book from last year was After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you are a frequent listener, you know I talk about this book probably more than any other book. But yeah, that's what I would say.
That's a good one. Okay. What is your favorite classic?
What's a classic?
Yeah, I don't even know what this means.
I feel like
classic.
I feel like the classics now are like Colleen Hoover.
Yeah, right. I don't have a favorite classic. I'll just say it. I don't read.
Yeah, I don't either.
I steer clear of classics. I don't find enjoyment out of them at all.
I'm too dumb.
Yeah, you're a dumb lollipop.
Oh, okay.
But same.
What's a book you always recommend?
Honestly, I think Colleen Hoover is just like a really safe bet. I recommend, like, if someone's just starting to read and asks me where to start, I usually recommend like Ugly Love, Verity, It Ends With Us. I think it's really safe. So probably anything by Colleen Hoover.
I love that. And I think I agree. I think my go-to, I have 2. Number 1, After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'll always recommend that book to anyone who will listen to me. And then I also always recommend, for like a fun rom-com with a little bit of steam, Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. I love that book so much.
That's a really good one. I recommend that one too, actually. Like, after Colleen Hoover, I usually move on to Christina Lauren, because I think they're really, like, you know, you're going to have an enjoyable, safe read. So I agree there.
Agree.
What is your current read at the moment?
What is not my current read at the moment is the better question. So I have been reading the Mindfuck series by St. Abbey. And this is like, it's 5 books in the series, but they're pretty short. They're all like under 150 pages, I would say.
Are they novellas? Or are they considered novellas?
I don't know. That's what because they are, I don't know. Like, is it a series of novellas? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Or are they just short books? I don't know. What is the difference? But yeah. I would probably consider them novellas. But it's about a female serial killer. And she starts dating an FBI agent, like, by chance. So they're not as, so the covers are like literally just a woman posed in like lingerie and like looking very scandalous, and they're very much not that steamy.
Yeah.
So I was surprised, but I'm really enjoying those. I'm also reading an arc of Jasper Vale, which is the 4th book in the Eden series. Oh. And yeah, a couple other things, but I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I only read one book at a time, so I am reading Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And to be honest with you, I actually don't really know what this book is about. I'm only about 60 pages in, and it's very different from what I normally read. There's 3 points of view. It's all told in 3rd person, but there's like 3 different people, like, in a chapter. I don't know. But one of the points of view is from an octopus, like literally like in an aquarium. But the reviews for it are just phenomenal.
Okay. What is a book you look forward to reading?
Oh God. 2023 is honestly a stacked year, I feel like, of like releases coming out. I just did my like anticipated books coming out, like a post on my personal Bookstagram, and there's so many of them. I guess if we're talking about series, I look forward to reading the Throne of Glass series. I'm a series girl, so I'll just say Throne of Glass series.
Okay, that's fair. Oh God, I don't even know at this point in my life. Like, what am I not looking forward to? I'm really excited to read Jasper Vale, which I'm currently reading, but that comes out this year. And then also Crimson River is the 5th book in the Eden series. So excited for that one as well. But I'll stick with those 2. And then
Okay,
if
those
you
are good.
want to know more, if this piqued your interest, we do have a post up on our page and a recent episode talking about our most anticipated releases of 2023. So check those out.
Oh my God, that feels like a lifetime ago that we recorded those. I forgot we even did that.
It was last
Oh my
year,
God.
Em. It was last
Oh
year.
my God, it was a whole year ago. Okay, what's a book that's been sitting on your like shelf for too long that you've wanted to read and you just haven't like picked up yet?
I have a couple of Kristen Hanna books that have been on my shelf for a really long time. Firefly Lane, Winter Garden. I think that's it. But I would say those. I've been meaning to pick them up for ages.
Those are good ones. People love Kristen Hanna too, so they're probably amazing. I actually read Firefly Lane. I didn't care for it, but that's a very unpopular opinion. Like, people love that book. But also, I don't like sad books, so keep that in mind. I'm looking at my bookshelf now, and I think the one that's been sitting there the longest that I've actually tried to read a few times, and I just haven't been in the right place for it, is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead.
Oh.
I've been wanting to read that for a while, and I tried last spooky season, and I just like couldn't. And I think it was just like a right book, wrong time moment. So I'm going to say that one has been sitting there for far too long, and I want to get to.
You know what we should do is save that for our 1 year episode.
Okay. As like we come back to it, because our first episode was
Yeah.
In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Oh, let's do it. Okay, so stay tuned. Next October, The Last Housewife.
Can't wait. We're going to forget we said this, so it's fine.
Literally remind us.
I think that's everything. So let's get into the goods, the most awaited, most anticipated, most sought after information that anyone could ever want.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of nervous because a lot of people have asked for this. So I hope it's helpful. Like I usually do with anything that we give advice on or recommend. So I just want to preface this by saying, like, this is our experience with Bookstagram. These are things that worked for us. These are tips and maybe, air quotes, tricks that we've done. So what works for us might not work for you. So just keep that in mind. But I think we should just start out.
Yeah.
Start out. Jess, what's the first thing that you should do when you want to start a Bookstagram?
So this is for the folks who have not started a Bookstagram, right? So maybe you follow Bookstagrammers, or maybe you've been thinking about starting one for a while. These are our tips for you. So if you're just starting out, number one, this is like the best advice we could give you. So make sure you're listening. Just fucking do it. Just do it. Nike, baby. No, but seriously, I think you can kind of psych yourself out by being like, oh no, I'm not creative enough, or no, I don't know how, or people aren't going to follow me. Like, it does not matter. Just start the account and start posting and thank yourself later.
Totally agreed. And just to backtrack a little bit, if you do not know what Bookstagram is, when we talk about this, you've probably heard of Instagram, social media platform. It's literally just a community on Instagram. So it's just an Instagram account, but people refer to it as Bookstagram because we just talk about books.
Yeah.
But I totally agree with Jess. Just do it. Just make an account. And my piece of advice for you, once you decide to do it, is to pick a name, pick a username. And I would make sure it's something that has to do with reading or books. So I'm Booked with Emily. Jess is Read Reviews by Jess. So you can kind of tell by our username that it might be related to books or, some sort of interest in that area. So I would definitely recommend picking a username with books or, some sort of reading language in there. And then I would set up an email dedicated to Bookstagram as well. So something similar to your username. Mine is exactly the same as my username. But I think that'll keep you really organized and tidy whenever you're maybe reaching out to publishers or anything like that, which we'll get to later. But those are my first two tips.
Yeah, agree. And then my tip tacking on to that is, as soon as you make your account, and if you already have an account and you don't have this, please turn on two-factor authentication. This is just a way to keep your account safe. I've heard so many horror stories of people losing their accounts when they've had like a decent amount of followers or they've been on there for years because they don't have two-factor authentication on. And this is just strictly for security's sake. It doesn't do anything other than protect.
Protect, yeah. She actually set mine up for me because I had no idea what it was.
Very important.
So thankful.
Our next tip on here is to choose an aesthetic or a vibe for your page, right? So do you want to do a combination of things, right? Do you want to do reviews and releases and talk about all of the book related things? Are you strictly reviews? Are you X, Y, and Z? Go into it with an idea of what you want to post. That can always change at a later date, but it's good to have an idea of like what vibe you want to give off. And then in terms of aesthetic, I mean, you don't have to do this. This is optional, but everybody likes a nice aesthetic looking feed these days.
Jess and I both. It's like almost picking out a wedding photographer, right? Like, do you kind of like those timeless, bright, and airy photos, or do you like the moodier photos? So Jess and I both, I think, lean towards the bright, clean, white look. Like, we just really like a crisp edit on a picture. So I think going into it, maybe find an edit or a style that you like so all of your pictures look really cohesive and pretty. Again, you do not have to do this.
Yeah.
Like some people get so carried away with it and it looks beautiful, but I can only imagine the work that goes into it. And other people literally don't put a filter on it, anything. Take a picture, upload it, and it's done. So it's totally up to you, but I think it'll help your profile stand out a little bit. Or if you post a picture, someone might be able to recognize right away, like, oh, that looks like Emily's page, or oh, that looks like Jess's page.
Yeah, totally. And then our next tip here is in your first post, introduce yourself, introduce your page. We'll get into this in a little bit, but a large part of Bookstagram is forming relationships and sort of like community. So, it's always nice to know who's behind the account. It doesn't mean you have to plaster up your face on Bookstagram. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. But introduce yourself, where do you live? Not your exact address. What's your social security number?
Yeah, definitely don't do that. But, so I guess kind of the last tidbit or helpful piece of information we have when you're literally just starting, day one, you make your account, is just to start following people. Start following other Bookstagram accounts. If you're joining Bookstagram, chances are you followed someone or saw someone else have it. So if you're listening to this podcast, go to my page, go to Jess's page, look through our followers, look who the people we follow, and just start following people who you think you can relate to based on their post, based on, do you like the aesthetic of their feed? And then start engaging, comment on their photos, slide into their DMs. Hey, I'm new to Booksta, love your account. I mean, that's all it really takes to strike up a conversation. So I just think engage.
Yeah. So those are our tips. If you're just starting out on Bookstagram, if you have a major account or if you just did, I think those are our top things that you should probably try and do. But now we're going to get into kind of tips just in general for any Bookstagrammer out there. Whether you've had your page for a while or you have a ton of followers or you have not a ton or you're trying to grow or you just want tips on how the hell Bookstagram works. This is for you. Number one, we are not like saying this is the only way. Emily talked about this. This is not the only way to grow on Bookstagram or to make friends or to do whatever. This is just one of the ways, and it's kind of like what has worked for Emily and I. So
yeah. Before
we get into that, I guess we should kind of give some background on our Bookstagram journeys, just like our credentials, so we can you can
Booked
know
with
that
Emily,
we qualify.
Podcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fair. So I actually just came up on my 2-year Booksta anniversary. So I started on Bookstagram about 2 years ago. I, on my personal page, had come across a Bookstagram account on the Explore page, and I cannot for the life of me remember who it was. I'm going to go back and look actually, but I followed her for a while and I loved it. I was in my reading era, like I was getting getting back into it. I read all the time. No one wanted to listen to me talk about books in real life. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make an account too. Like, I literally remember having my sister take my picture for me for my very first picture that I put on Bookstagram. I have almost, I think, 19,000 followers. And I don't know. That's about it. We'll get into things that have worked for us, but that's about it for now. My first post actually was a Meet the Bookstagram, where I did introduce myself. It was, I don't shy away from plastering my face all over my Bookstagram account.
So I think my journey was really similar. I also started in January of 2021. I did not know Bookstagram was a thing at all when I started. Like, I genuinely had no idea. So my first post was literally just a review of a book, because my intent of this Instagram account was to post reviews of books that I read and enjoyed for myself.
What book
it
was
honestly, it was You Are Not Alone by Sarah Pickenen and Greer Hendricks. And yeah, so I posted that, and I posted more books because I was like, this is for me to look back on and know, like, whether I liked a book or not, because I started reading more and I was just like, wait, did I read this? Did I like it? And I was just getting confused. So that's kind of how I landed in Bookstagram. So my first post was not introducing myself, but I took a break from Bookstagram in June of 2021. Joined back on in January of 2022, and have been going steady for a year. So I have experienced a lot of growth on Bookstagram really quickly, I would say. I'm almost to 48,000 followers, which I still don't really understand.
Guys, we got a famous Bookstagram on our hands.
I hate when people say that. I am just a wee little lad. But yeah, that's kind of it for me. But we're going to just give you all of our tips for how to, I guess, grow your account if that's what you want to do. My biggest tips for when anybody asks me this, it's kind of like a combination of several things. So I think the biggest and probably the most important is community building, relationship building, and engagement, right? So the way you're going to get followers in the beginning is by following other people, engaging with their stuff, sliding into their DMs, and really trying and putting in an effort to build relationships. And with that, you're kind of going to get like a trickle down effect where it's like, you reach out, you follow them, you engage with their stuff, you share their stuff, they share your stuff. Then it kind of like the cycle repeats itself, and you start it with someone else, and then they share it with their followers, and it just kind of expands that way. So I
totally agree.
Anything to add?
Nope. I think that's a really good point. Just, engage with people and make friends. I mean, Jess and I met on Bookstagram, and now we're best friends. So I think you can develop really genuine friendships. And I think that's a cool part of the community too. Not even to grow, but seriously just meet people that you may never have met otherwise. So definitely community building and engagement. I think another tip would be to stay with the trends. Honestly, some people have really negative feedback about this, but I think that works if you want to gain followers, know what the people want to see, and share that. But I think Jess has said this before, be authentic to yourself. Do not just post that you love Colleen Hoover because she's trending right now. If you don't share that. But I think that it's okay to be aware of what people want to see and what is really popular and what's hyped up on Book Talk and Bookstagram. And if that is true to you, then I think that you should share that. So I think that's a helpful tip too. Just kind of know what's trending right now.
Try and get in front of the trends if you can. And I think the easiest way to do that, honestly, is to be on Book Talk. You don't have to actually have an account and be a book talker, but to follow what's going on Book Talk, because TikTok is always light years ahead of Instagram. So I think that's a great way to kind of stay ahead of the trends, is to be on TikTok.
Yeah, agreed. And speaking of TikTok, I think the next thing that I would recommend. And I really can't speak on this because I don't do it, but
yeah,
Reels.
So Instagram
Reels
was created to compete with TikTok. And Instagram pushes Reels really hard. That's why they now show up in your feed. When before it was like kind of like a separate section of the app. And a lot of creators get paid to post Reels. I personally benefit from Reels bonuses. They're not a lot, and they're based on views, but I mean, Instagram really pushes them. They're literally paying creators to make Reels so they can take from TikTok. So I think it's easier to also go viral with Reels. So keep that in mind. And I also, like, if you don't like Reels, like Emily doesn't do Reels, if that's not your thing, don't do it. I personally really enjoy Reels. I think I'd rather post Reels than in feed posts just because, I don't know, I find joy in them. But if that's not your thing, you definitely do not have to do that.
Yeah, totally agree. Jess has seen major success with Reels, and her Reels are really funny. She's very creative with them. Like she said, I don't find joy in making them, and I have tried to make them, and I do not see the views that other people see. So by us saying to make Reels, that does not guarantee that you're going to get, thousands of views and you're going to grow a lot, because it is just, it depends. But I definitely see Instagram leaning more into Reels in the future, and even now, really.
I think it's definitely like a consistencies game, right? So I can have a Reel that gets 40,000 views, and I can have a Reel that gets 2,000 views, right? You're never always gonna see consistency in your engagement and in the algorithm, which is something we'll talk about later on.
Yeah, agree.
I think our next tip here is posting consistently. Like, that leads us nicely here. I think it's really important to post in a way that your followers don't forget who you are, right? But also in a way that's like, if I want to post monthly, like, they can expect monthly from me. It's kind of like a commitment to your followers and to yourself. But I think it's also a way to get your name out there.
I agree. I think that there's some accounts that I can count on at 8 p.m. I know they're going to post. That's just, I see their posts at 8 p.m. show up, or I know who I'm going to see as soon as I open my Bookstagram app. Like, I know whose post I'm going to see. So I think that is a good point. I think that it's a way to kind of definitely, like, not own that time slot, but you definitely are well known for posting at that time. But I also know people who just post their monthly wrap-ups. At the end of every month, I just get, that's what they read that month. But I do see more growth with posting consistently. Jess and I both talked about how we did take a step back from Bookstagram for several months, like what, 6 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so during that time, we weren't posting at all. So thankfully, I mean, I personally didn't lose a ton of followers, but like, you definitely do lose that engagement. It takes a while when you come back to people start seeing your posts again because you've stepped away for so long. So I think that's a really good tip. And then the next one, I would say, and this is not necessary at all, guys, but giveaways. Jess and I have done giveaways, and we have seen a lot of success in giveaways. I mean, you're going to get what you give, though. We do pretty nice giveaways, in my opinion, where we'll offer maybe like a Kindle or a $100 gift card, or we'll collab with other accounts on Instagram, and you share a post, you're tagging people, and so people are following you for a chance to win that giveaway. But again, you're spending money now to basically gain followers. But I think that it does work if that's what you're looking for. But I also think it's also like a way to give back to your followers who follow you as like a thank you. Like, hey, thanks for being here with me. Like, here's a chance to win a Kindle or a book, But I think giveaways are a good way to get your account out there.
Yeah, I think when we both started Bookstagram, giveaways were so frequent, right? Like, it was like you did a giveaway when you hit 500 followers, when you hit 1,000, when you hit 50, you did a giveaway at every follower milestone that you could imagine. And I think a lot of Bookstagrammers still do that. But I think now my biggest recommendation when you're doing a giveaway is to partner with someone else. I think you'll see the most growth from that. Partner with 2 partner with like one other person or two other people. I think when you start to partner with like 6 or 7 people, then it's just like not worth it for the people entering the giveaway, because it's like, okay, now I have to follow 7 people for the chance to win one book, like, and they're competing with everybody else's followers too. So, but yeah, I think when you can partner with another person and kind of you can both capitalize on each other's following, I think that is key to a successful giveaway.
Agreed. And one last thing I want to say, just to come back on this, there is nothing wrong with doing a giveaway where you're giving a book away.
Oh, yeah.
I entered one today. You don't have to give away a Kindle or a $100 gift card. I love winning books. So there's nothing wrong with that either. I was just saying the higher ticket items, probably more people will enter because it's a chance to win something they don't have to spend money on. So whatever you want to do. I mean, I've given away $5 gift cards to Starbucks. So it's just a way to kind of, again, get that engagement and get your name out there. But not necessary at all. Save your money if you don't want to do that. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Agree. I think the last kind of call out here is that a large portion of my success on Bookstagram has been luck. I have had a lot of luck by chance with some Colleen Hoover posts that I did that just happened. I was reading Ugly Love. I posted about Ugly Love, and that post went viral because it was kind of like right thing at the right time. And a couple other like reels of mine did really well, but all of it was really Colleen Hoover related, and that just happened for me. So I think that's what it is. So that's why I hate when people are like, oh my God, you're famous, or like, it like warms my heart, but some people will like DM me and then I'll respond and they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you're responding right now. Like, I love your account. Like, and I'm just like, oh my God, please. I'm just like a little peasant. Do not feel that way about me.
No, you deserve all your followers.
I don't think
you
so.
Post funny things. You do. And I'll be your voice of reason.
Okay, you be my voice of reason.
Shut the fuck up, you little peasant. No, I'm just kidding.
Literally, I'm going to change my handle to Little Peasant.
Read reviews with the peasant. I think, though, talking about luck, though, that does go into our next topic, which is engagement. And I think that the Instagram algorithm, so who sees your account, who sees your post, who is interacting with you, I think that genuinely all goes back to luck.
Yeah.
Like, a perfect example, I posted something last night, over 1,000 likes. I posted something this morning. I have 200 likes on it. Like, I did nothing different. They were both authentic posts. I thought they were both good posts. They were about books, and people just didn't see my post today. And I didn't do anything different. I didn't use hashtags on one and hashtags on the other. It just totally comes down to the Instagram algorithm.
Yeah.
Which I think goes back to luck again. And that happens whether you have 100 followers, 1,000 followers, 20,000 followers, or 50,000 followers. It's so out of your control.
I agree. I think when I first started, and this is like, I think really worthy of a call out, because if you're doing this, you are not alone. When I first started Bookstagram, after I like realized it was a thing and I started gaining followers, I was like, oh my God, I need to like really think this through. So I'm like researching what hashtags to use, researching what time of day is best to post, what day is best to post, like all of that stuff. But honestly, like, it doesn't matter. It really just does not matter. It changes consistently what Instagram is choosing to serve people. So I don't think you need to spend hours and stress about like, oh my God, it's 2 p.m. I have to do my post for today. Like, just do what you can and do what you want to do.
I totally attest to that. I did the same thing. I mean, there's literally charts and graphs online that'll tell you like peak times to post on Instagram. And I'd be lying if I still don't look at those sometimes. I mean, I do. I want my posts to be seen. I work hard on them. However, I swear I see the most engagement with my post that I just randomly post at a random time of the day. If I try and pick a time that I think most people are going to be online, they don't do as well. So I think, just to go back to Jess's point, post when you want to post. Like, if you post at 3 a.m., I don't know if you're going to, like, most people might be sleeping.
Honestly,
so
though,
think
it might be on the top of people's feeds when they wake up. There's just no science to it. And even if you are, like, referencing those charts and graphs that they have online, literally everybody else who is trying to grow their account is referencing the same charts and graphs. So it's kind of just, like, just a dumb cycle.
It is. Like, this is just an example. So, Jess, your posts always show up on my page because I think we interact a lot. But the past 2 days, I literally was just going to the bathroom and I was on my phone and I went on Friends with Books and both of your reels were on there, like on that Instagram page. I didn't see either of them though on my page. Do you know what I mean? Your 2 reels, I haven't seen them. So I think that just goes to show for someone I interact with every day on that app, like their posts consistently, Instagram just decides, no, fuck you, Jess. I'm not going to show them to Emily.
That's so rude.
Like, it just, I know, right? We should write a letter. I think it's fun.
Honestly. Yeah, you guys, it just makes no sense. That's our biggest advice. And like, don't get discouraged if you are posting and you're like, okay, my posts are getting shit likes or nobody's commenting, nobody's seeing them, whatever it may be. Like, that is happening to everyone. As someone who has a decent amount of followers, like, sometimes I can post and literally get 300 likes. Like, I have 48,000 followers and I'm getting 300 likes. I don't know how many people are seeing it because I don't check, because it does affect your mental health. It makes you feel like shit.
100%.
So I try not to check, and I actually turn my likes off, but it doesn't stop me from checking still.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's happening to everyone, no matter how many followers you have. And there's a reason why every single person hides their like count now, because it's a humbling experience at times.
It really is.
So,
but anyways.
Yeah. Moving on, just know if you get discouraged, fine. It's normal. You're not alone. You're not alone in getting a little amount of likes either. It's bound to happen. And then the next week, you might ride the wave where you're getting thousands and thousands of likes. So just keep that in mind. But I think moving on from that topic, if Jess is ready, she just looked at me like, don't.
No, I looked at you because I was going to say, and now we're going to talk about just things that you really should know as a bookstagrammer.
Yes.
And these are ranging from like our content tips to like how to get arcs to what the fuck ever. So I think like the most, other than like how do I grow on Bookstagram, how did you get that arc or how did you get a copy of that book is like my second most asked question. So we're going to tell you.
Real quick, an ARC is an advanced reader copy. So it's a book that has not been published yet. So you're reading it before basically anyone else can read it, just so you know. Because I did not know what that stood for when I first started Bookstagram. I'm like, what are these ARCs everyone's talking about?
They're usually called ARCs now, but sometimes you'll hear publishers call them galleys. I think that's like an outdated term. But advanced reader copies, there are two main ways, I think, or three main ways that you can get an ARC. Number one, do you want to talk about NetGalley?
Yeah. So NetGalley is basically an online platform for authors to put their books on and publishing houses to put books on that are going to be released in the near future. And anyone really can go make an account and go through an online library and read the description, see the cover, and if they think it appeals to them, they can request a copy of it. So if you want to make an account, just go to NetGalley, make an account. You got a link, like an email, so they can send you, because most of the ARCs are going to be like electronic books. So you need to have like a Kindle email set up. But my biggest tip with NetGalley is you could really get yourself in trouble with NetGalley. When I first started, I made a NetGalley account. It's fucking disgusting.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what I thought was going to happen, but I didn't think it would be that.
Okay, well, when you make a NetGalley account, you just like get a power high and you just literally like request every single book on the website, and a lot of them are going to be approved. And before you know it, you're going to have 20 arcs that you need to read. And the reason you need to read them is because these publishers and authors aren't just giving you these books for fun. They're using it for publicity. They're using it for marketing. You need to read them and review them. And if you don't review them, it's like getting an F on a report card, and they will remember that and they will not give you advanced reader copies in the future. So I think my biggest advice would just be selective when you're going through NetGalley. Only request books that you truly want to read. Don't just request things so you can say you got an ARC, because it's taking away the opportunity too from someone else who might genuinely want to read that. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. But I think it's a great, great resource to get advanced reader copies, and probably the most popular way to do so.
Agree. Yeah, a lot of publishing houses have limited physical copies of ARCs. So the best way to get an ARC is to get an e-copy, and that's typically done through NetGalley. And I am in the same boat as Emily. When I first started Bookstagram and I logged on to NetGalley, I was requesting books, bitch. I was requesting so many books. And publishers, when they're looking at your NetGalley account, they can see like your response rate to books that you've received. And the goal is it's called a feedback ratio. The goal is to have an 80% feedback ratio. So just keep that in mind. Don't go crazy requesting books. The other ways that you can get an ARC are signing up for influencer programs through publishing houses. So I know Forever Publishing has one. I know Berkeley has one. I know Simon & Schuster, Gallery Books, all of those publishing houses have like influencer programs that you could be a part of. You sign up, and like monthly they'll send you a list of all of the ARCs they have available to request, and you request one, and then they ship them over to your house, or they'll send you the ebook if that's what they have available. A lot of indie authors also have influencer programs that you can join and sign up for, but most of the time they only give out ebooks. So just be mindful of that.
Yeah. Real quick though, don't sleep on ebooks. When I first started Bookstagram, I did not want an ebook. I just thought I was so much cooler than that. I wanted a physical copy because it was so cool that I had like a physical copy in my hand. Ebooks, you'll learn to love them, okay? You will run out of space on a shelf. You will not be able to put them anywhere, and you read a lot more faster and conveniently with an ebook. So do not sleep on ebooks.
Okay.
Is another piece of advice.
Okay, thank you for that piece of advice.
You're welcome.
The third way to get an ARC is by emailing publishers. You can Google publicity contacts at publishing houses and send an email requesting a specific ARC. If you're going to do that, try and like plead your case, kind of is what I would recommend. Like you can look up templated emails online of like how to request an ARC from a publisher, and you can find emails there. Really, like my best advice is to give some insight into who you are, introduce yourself, say this is what my audience is, like this is what I post about, these are the books I enjoy, and give some metrics to your account if you can.
Yeah, agreed. And if you guys get stuck on this, genuinely, like, feel free to slide into my DMs and I will, like, send you the template that I use. Because when I was first starting out, someone did that for me. I had no idea what to include, and mine's a pretty standard email template that I'll send, and I'll kind of just like replace the author and the book and update, like Jess said, like my stats, you know, like my followers and my likes and everything. So honestly, like if you guys get stuck, feel free to slide into my DMs and ask, and I will be happy to help you come up with an email to like email publishers and authors and stuff.
Yeah, same. I also have a media kit. So I actually send this instead of just like putting the stats in the email, but it's literally just like kind of like an about me, and it has all of the stats of my followers, some of the, you know, books that I've received before or brands that I've worked with before. And I just send that in an email when I'm requesting an ARC. So if you want tips on how to make a media kit, also happy to help there. I'm supposed to teach Emily anyway, so I might as well just record it.
Honestly, I was just going to say, Jess, like, you still need to make me mine, actually. I do not have a media kit, but I'm going to have one shortly because I'm not going to let Jess forget about it. So I guess moving on to some content tips. So if you're ever struggling and you kind of get into like a creative funk, which I think is very common. It happens to me. I'm like, you know what? I just don't even know what to post. Like, I don't know. I think that challenges are such a good way to just put something on your page and engage with people. And book challenges are a dime a dozen on Bookstagram. Honest to God, you could search any hashtag bookish challenge and you'll get a ton of them. And it's typically like what we did at the beginning of this episode. So someone just comes up with bookish questions and you answer them, or someone will ask, you know, there's one going around, Jess did it, and it's like 12 books by 12 friends, where she had 12 people recommend 12 books to read this year. So I just think that's, if you're ever in a slump, that's a great way just to be active and get people to engage with you.
Yeah. I think a great person to look at their account if you're looking for a bookish challenge is Sorry I'm Booked Up. She is like the challenge queen.
I knew you were going to say her.
She is like the challenge queen. So if you're ever like, I want to do a Bookstagram challenge, go look at her account and look at what she's tagged into, and you'll find something good there. But I think to mitigate any sort of like creative funk or like, I don't know what to post next, my biggest tip is to have like a running list on your phone of things that you want to do in the future. So I have a note in my notes app on my iPhone, and it just is like literally kind of like a to-do list. And it's like, I want to do a reel on books that make me laugh, or on my favorite authors, or X, Y, and Z. And it's just a running list. So when I'm feeling like, what do I post next? I go to that list and I kind of pick something off, and it just makes my life so much easier.
Yep, totally agree. Don't even have anything to add. I do the same exact thing. I think that another tip in maybe creating content is take inspiration from other people. I mean, there are so many people on Bookstagram who are incredibly creative and post beautiful pictures and great content. And so I use other people as inspiration, you know, all the time. I think give credit where credit's due if you can. You know, if you're copying someone's exact picture, you know, definitely credit them in your caption, or just say like, hey, like, I love this picture, going to use it. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think that you need to ask someone permission as soon as it's on the internet. I think it's kind of free game, but I think be respectful. I think put yourself in someone else's shoes if they're working really hard on their post and, you know, gaining engagement, and you like it enough to want to use it. Definitely just give credit where credit's due, but don't be afraid to go off other people's content as well.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think, you guys, at the end of the day, there's only so much creativity you can have when reviewing a book or when running your Bookstagram account, right? Like, we're all constantly pulling inspiration from each other, whether it's the structure of how we are writing our reviews or the type of, you know, graphic that we're using. Like, I do my books, my book reviews, and they have like arrows coming off of it with descriptions of the book. And like, before I started doing that, I was seeing that everywhere. And so I started doing it. I couldn't tell you who the first person who did that was to credit them. And so I just think my biggest advice is like, don't be afraid that you're going to be stealing someone else's idea. And also don't be pissed off at other people for, if you're in this situation, for doing something similar to something that you've done. I think assume the best intent. Maybe they didn't see it, you know, maybe they had the same idea and you just got to it first. It doesn't discredit what someone else is doing. But I think if you know that you're actually pulling inspiration for someone, it's always nice to give them credit.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of the community aspect. You know, you want to build nice relationships with people, just because I think Bookstagram is like a close-knit community. But I agree with everything Jess said. No one owns Instagram. No one owns Bookstagram. No one owns a book review or how you do it. So just do what you want to do. And if someone comes at you, you tell me and Jess.
We'll get them.
We'll not do anything about it, but we'll talk shit on them.
Yeah. No, Emily, if anyone was going to do something about it, it would be Emily. I would just be like, oh my God, let's get them. And then I would do nothing because I'm afraid of confrontation.
She sure is. We have a funny story about that, but that's for another day.
And I think that this kind of goes hand in hand with like, don't be afraid to try new things. If you have been doing your reviews for a while and you're just not feeling inspired by how you're doing them, feel free to switch it up. I think if you see a challenge for like movies or something, like, don't be afraid to adapt that to books and pull inspiration from that too. Like, I just think try new things, and if they work, they work. If they don't, they don't. And just kind of go with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip. The last thing we have here, and I kind of touched on it, is, like I said, sometimes I take a step back and I think, okay, like, what would I want to see, you know, as a reader? And I use that as inspiration for myself sometimes. I just try and post what I think other people would see. So I'm sure there's a lot of ways other people create their content, but those are just a few off the top of our head that works for us and things that we've done, whether we're in a slump or just trying to come up with content. So a few good tips for you.
Yeah. Okay, now is the fun part of Bookstagram. This is like creating your posts, right? So we've got some really good tips here to help you formulate your posts. And yeah, let's dive in. So the first tip that I have is, if you're doing a review or if you're doing anything, write notes on it. Like, as I'm reading a book, I'm always jotting down notes on like my thoughts or things that happened, just so when I go to do my review, I can look back on that note and it's just easier, because a lot of the time I don't do my reviews for like weeks after I've read the book. Gosh, I'm writing books now. Who knew? And just having that,
not me,
having that note makes it easier to pull from.
Yeah, again, I totally agree. I do the same thing. I jot things down, and then typically I'll go back and I'll be like, what does this word mean?
Why did I say this? That?
Yeah, but I think that's a great tip. I think another really good tip, if, again, you want to spend money, I think whether you're creating reels or just taking pictures, is to buy a tripod. You can get them on Amazon for so cheap. I actually don't have a tripod because my husband takes all of my pictures that I can't take myself. But sometimes he's not home and I wish I had one. So I should invest one myself, to be honest. But yeah, Jess can speak more on the reels, but I think she uses hers a lot when she makes reels.
Yeah, I think a tripod is really valuable for reels, especially just because if I asked my husband to stand there and hold my phone for as long as it takes me to make a reel, he would probably divorce me. But I definitely see the benefit too. If you're taking content photos on your own, definitely invest in a tripod. It just makes it easier, makes it sturdier, and keeps things consistent. I think our next tip is kind of a slew of them, actually. These are some of the apps that we found really helpful during our time on Bookstagram. So for editing your photos, I think the top ones that you'll probably see us use are Canva. That's how I make all of my arrow graphics. That's how Emily makes the graphics on her page for like her anticipated releases and her ranking systems. And it's just a really, like, if you know nothing about graphic design, you can go on Canva and you can become a graphic designer, essentially. They have pre-built templates. They have literally anything that you could hope for. And it's free. You can use it for free, or you can pay for a membership, which just unlocks some additional like elements and templates and stuff like that. But you can use it for free.
Yeah, no, I love Canva. I use it a lot, like she said. So I think it's becoming a really popular app on Booksta, actually, just as kind of trends change and everything. And the best part about it is, like she said, it's free. A couple more, Lightroom and Facetune. They're both editing apps. So Lightroom, that's where you could upload like your presets. So if you want that light and airy feel, that's where you can kind of edit your photos, change the saturation, the brightness, the colors of them. You can buy presets online from Etsy, or if you have a favorite blogger that you really like and they have presets, you can upload them into Lightroom. I think every Bookstagrammer and Instagrammer uses Lightroom. Again, it's free. And then I don't know if a lot of people use Facetune. A lot of people use Facetune to like edit their bodies and, you know, like stuff like that. I take a lot of pictures on like using my comforters or sheets, and I don't like when they're wrinkled. So I will use Facetune to smooth out the wrinkles. So that's why I use Facetune. But again, it's free. You could pay for it, but I think that's really if you like want to start like really editing yourself. But I just use the free version, and I really recommend that as well.
Yeah, I don't use Facetune, but I use Lightroom, and that's what I use to edit my photos. I think having a preset saves you so much time, right? So it helps your feed look consistent, and it's literally like you upload your picture to Lightroom, you click the preset, and then you're done. And like Emily said, you can get them off Etsy. That's where I got mine. If you want a link to mine, I'm happy to send it and share it with you as well. The next two apps are for editing reels. So VN and CapCut are two different apps, but really, I think you can edit reels within the Instagram platform, and a lot of the time that's what I do depending on the reel. Instagram is really finicky with a lot of like the details and how you split clips and how you trim them and all of that stuff, and VN and CapCut make it a lot easier to do that. So it's just an additional step, but if you're already recording just in your camera and not in the Instagram app, I definitely recommend checking those two out. And then the preview app is like a lifesaver. If you're really wanting to have a consistent feed and you want to see what a post looks like on your feed before you post it, you can download the preview app. It syncs with your Instagram. It'll pull in all of your posts that you have up there already. And then you can upload new photos that aren't posted yet to see what they look like.
Yeah, I use the preview app a lot. If you know anything about me, I'm very, very particular. I like things to look consistent. So I will play around in the preview app all the time just to make sure I like how one picture looks next to the other picture. So I think that's a great resource. Another really popular app is Goodreads, and that's basically just kind of like an online tracking system for books you read, books you want to read. I don't know, you can connect with other people, you can track your progress, what page you're on in a book. So I use that a lot to track the books, that I read throughout the year. You just create an account, and I think it's really nice too. That's the app that a lot of people use to count the books that they've read. So if you're kind of curious how many books oh my God, what the hell? I've been talking too much. How many books you've read a year, you can keep track on Goodreads.
Yeah. So. Also, just a note on Goodreads too. A lot of the time when you're requesting ARCs, or especially through NetGalley, they'll ask you to post your review on Goodreads as well. So it's just nice to have a Goodreads account for consistency. And you can post. You can also, this is a tidbit about Goodreads. If you don't know, they do giveaways all of the time on Goodreads. It's like in a separate tab, but a lot of ARCs are given away, a lot of already published copies. So I would definitely check that out. It takes a lot to win, but once you win, I swear something's wrong with like their algorithm or their code, where it's like you win once and then you'll win 5 times in a row and then you'll never win again. That's been my experience, and I know several people who've had the same experience.
That is good. That's a tip for me. I've never entered a good. I've seen them, but I'm always like, what are the chances of winning? And I never enter them. So moving on, this is an app that I use. It's not an app, actually. It's a website. It's called fancyfonts.com. So if you follow me on my Bookstagram, or if you follow our pod Instagram, I write our captions and I change some of the words to be fancier or bolder. So I use Fancy Fonts. It changes your fonts.
Yeah, but she will recommend you actually not do that.
That is true. Thank you for calling that out. If you're going to do it, you really got to commit. Well, no, you can change it if you want. Like I said, I'm very particular about my account though. So I started it in 2021 and I just have kept it consistent because I don't want to change it at this point. But if you read my reviews, they all share like the same font, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy, to be honest. Don't recommend starting it unless you're okay with stop doing it later down the road.
So my next tip here is batching content. So when I'm saying this, I typically will have a day where I will just take a bunch of pictures of books that I see myself reading in the future, books that are scheduled for the podcast or buddy reads or whatever it may be. Or I'll take pictures of or I'll do like a couple bookish challenges or a couple reels that I'll knock out. And I try to do it all in one day. That way I kind of have like a library of content on my phone that I can pick and choose from. And then I'll write my captions at a later date. I know a lot of people who will do it all at once, right? So they'll take a bunch of pictures and write all their captions in like one day and then schedule the post. I don't do all of that because usually once I'm done taking all the photos and videos, I'm pooped. But it's just another way to kind of make things easier. That way, again, if you're ever like lacking ideas on what to post, you have like a small library of things to choose from.
Yes, I think that is a great tip. I do not do that. I really just fly by the seat of my pants and take pictures whenever I'm in the mood to post. But I think that is a very, very helpful tip. So if you're listening to Jess and taking notes, I would definitely do that one.
Listen to me.
Yes, listen to her, especially with that tip that I do not even do myself. The next tip that we have would be to tag people. So if you post a review, what?
Just to tag people.
Yeah, to tag people in your post. So if you post a review and you want to post the author, I say do it. I say, if it's good, never tag an author in a review where you're bashing a book. That is just so incredibly rude. But don't be afraid to tag the publishing house, the author, GMA Book Club, BuzzFeed Books, basically any sort of like reading platform there is. I think that you should share it or tag them. I've never had like any of my posts shared on any of those platforms, but I see a lot of times people who tag them religiously, you know, Reading with Jenna or Reads with Jenna, they'll reshare Bookstagram accounts, and that's so cool. Like that, they have so many followers and your posts get reshared. So I think tagging people is a good way to get your content seen as well.
Yeah, I agree. I got shared on Reading with Jenna's page one time and on Colleen Hoover's story twice. And I just added those things to my resume, and that's the life I live now. Those are my sole accomplishments. But with the caveat to tagging people is only tag people who are relevant to this post, right? I think it's easy to like want to tag a larger Bookstagrammer in your post just so like it shows up in their tagged photos. But that can be really frustrating. So just only tag them if it's actually relevant. Yeah, that's my caveat.
I agree. I agree with that one. I think the last one that we have there is to use hashtags, which people say it works. People say it doesn't work. I don't know. Some posts I'll do the hashtags, which is literally just like the shift pound key, you know, the number 3. And you basically just type out anything you think relates to the book or just anything random, to be honest. So I'll do like hashtag Bookstagram, hashtag book review, hashtag Colleen Hoover, just whatever you think. Sometimes I think it works. You can actually look at the insights on your photo and see like how much engagement you got from those hashtags. And sometimes mine is really good. And other times mine will be like 0 people found this based on your hashtags.
Yeah, you guys, let me just say like that is it's Instagram picks and chooses, right? I can use the same hashtags on every single post, and sometimes it'll get picked up and a lot of people will see it, and other times I'll get no views from hashtags. So it really just depends. I also think Instagram changes so much with hashtags and its recommendations. I just recently saw an article of how they only recommend you do 3 hashtags. And that seems wrong.
What's funny is when we started Bookstagram, everyone was like, use all 30 hashtags. You need to count them, have 30 of them.
Yeah.
And now they're telling you 3. Okay.
Some people still say 30. I think my biggest advice for hashtagging and what to come up with is I try and do some that are really relevant to the book, right? So the book title, the author, the publishing house, any of the tropes that are in the book. So small town romance, enemies to lovers, and then like more broad hashtags too. So Bookstagram, books, bookshelf, things like that. So like a nice mix, I always recommend. But who the fuck knows if they work?
Yeah.
I know they don't work.
You don't know if they do, actually. Moving on, we are going to talk about managing your own page. So just like, again, just some general tips. We're trying to break it down. This will be easy when I go to make the guide to post, to be honest. But managing your own page, just some helpful tips. I think in your bio, it's really helpful to have a link tree or a link in bio, which is basically people can click it and it'll take you to all of the links you want to share. So your Amazon wish list, or if you want to share your Goodreads account, if you have book of the month and you want to share the link to that. So you can reference my account or Jess's account and see what I'm talking about there, because I think it's easier to see than explain.
Yeah, we actually use 2 different platforms for that. Em uses Linktree and I use Link Bio. I think both are great, so just whatever works for you. Next is your actual bio. So I think it's really important to have, like, this is your mini resume, right? This is what people can expect from your account. And if you know what SEO is, like, this is just another form of SEO where you can use whatever you're putting in your bio to attract people when they're searching for things, right? So something catchy. I always like to see where people are from, just because I'm always looking for local book friends. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And some people do, like, their current read or whatever else in their bio. So it's really up to you.
I think the next thing I would recommend, we both do this on our pages, is to save things to highlight. So if you go to my page, I just updated it. For example, I have a highlight with all my 5-star reviews, 4-star, 3-star. I don't really review 2-star books, but those are, so if you're looking for a quick, oh, what are Emily's 5-star books? You can click on that and it'll show all my posts. So I think it's just a way to be, like, really organized, to help your followers, just like a quick link into kind of like your reviews. It organizes it. And I am a pro of organization. So
I think that's amazing.
I'm a fan of organization. Also a pro at it, though.
I honestly forget that highlights exist. And I'm actually not one that looks at other people's highlights very often. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I ever do that. Unless I'm actually looking for something. Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, you do look at them all the time, because I remember a couple weeks ago you referenced something that was in my highlight and I was like, what are you talking about?
No, yeah, I look at people's highlights. I think it's the easiest way. You go to someone's account, or if I'm like, I know they reviewed this book, but I don't want to scroll through 100 posts. I'm like, oh, it's probably in their highlight that says reviews. And then I can find it really easily. So I think they're a really good resource. But again, what works for me might not work for you. So
yeah, I maybe I'll do that. I just don't, though. But anyways,
well, I think just to touch on aesthetic again, we've talked about it literally so many times. Like, find a preset that works for you, find a vibe that works for you. But I think we haven't said it's okay to change your vibe. Jess and my page and her page looks completely different than it did 2 years ago. So I think it's totally fine. Yeah, it's totally fine to change it. But again, I think that's something that'll make your profile stand out.
Guys, I don't even want to talk about what my page looked like 2 years ago.
I was creeping on mine too, and I was like, why did I think that, like, that was a good idea? Why did I do that?
Honestly, too, you guys, I used to stress out so much about, like, I don't even know if I want to say this, but, like, put so much effort into having my posts look different from each other, like having variance in what I'm posting. And now I literally just slap a book on a bed, take a picture of it, and do the graphics and set it off to go. Like, I would stress myself out so much. So, like, this is my biggest tip. Do not sacrifice your mental health for Bookstagram. If you are doing something and you hate what you're doing, stop doing it and try something else. If you need to take a break, take a break. Like, this is not your job at the end of the day. And so, you know, be good to yourself, be good to your mental health. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. I
totally agree. Yeah. We just changed a lot over the past 2 years. What we did back then is not what we do now. I'm still very particular about what I post, so maybe I'm not the best person to attest to this, but I do agree. If you need a break, I've done that. We both have done that. Take a step back. Unless you're getting paid a full-time salary to do this, it is not worth sacrificing your mental health and happiness for. And I think a lot of people feel that way and have done the same exact thing. So it's totally normal.
Agree.
It's a lot of work to I don't know. I think Bookstagram can end up being a lot of work if you let it consume you. So just be cognizant of that, I think. Okay. So I think that's the end of our tips and tricks for you guys. There's a lot of information there, honestly. Again, I don't really know if we're qualified to be giving out this information, but it's just what's worked for us. Also, I think we said a lot of things that didn't work for us. And so take that as you will. We hope that this was helpful. If you do decide to make a Bookstagram, please message myself and Jess and let us know. I will gladly follow along on your journey and support your page, because I think that's a lot of people who had more followers than I did in the beginning. That's how I grew, because they were willing to share me. So I think, like we talked about, it's all about community and engagement. But I don't really have anything else to give. That's all I got.
Emily, what's our bookmark this week?
Okay, I have one. It's going to be a double bookmarked.
Oh,
so you have to answer both questions correctly. Okay.
Okay.
What was my very first post on Bookstagram? And what was Jess's very first post on Bookstagram? Yes. So if you want to be entered into a chance to win a book or a gift card or who the heck knows, slide into our DMs at Friends with Books Pod and tell us the answer to Bookmarked. What was Emily's, my very first Instagram post, and what was Jess's very first Instagram post?
That's a good one, Em. Excellent job.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess we can say we're friends with Bookstagram. Is it friends with us? Depends on the day. If you like this episode and want to continue listening along and reading along with us, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Friends with Books Pod, where we will announce all of our upcoming buddy reads and our monthly schedule for what's kind of in store for the month. So check us out over there. But
in case you don't have Instagram or Bookstagram, next week we will be talking about All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. And the following week, the last episode of February, January, Tessa Bailey is going to be on the pod. So that's what you have to look forward to the rest of the month. But like she said, if you like listening to us, make sure you subscribe to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever you listen to us, and give us a rating, but only if it's a good one.
Bye.
See you later.